Hello YouTube, Zarya Train Man 2 again. And today I'm going to start building on a custom building for my layout. The building that is being massacred is the Smallman Street Warehouse by City Classics. It actually comes in a plastic bag like this with multiple parts, pieces, and walls. It is a three-story building, and it's actually a lot like a larger design preservation models building. It actually comes with a piece of styrene, not quite a sheet paper size, and the instructions, which will be discarded. And the windows, they're actually pretty nice, thin window construction, so it's not real thick and cheap looking. They're a little bent, I noticed, but when you glue them in place, they'll straighten out. We're going to set these aside for now. There's 4 of those, and there appears to be these black vent pieces with ribs on them, and this, which is a roof vent. There's actually 4 of those on on each sprue, and the vents look like they could be used for a swamp cooler or an air conditioning unit. We'll get to that a lot later. Like I said, it is a 3-story building. These are the upper story walls. There's these 2, and these 2. And when it's put together, I assume it looks like this. Kind of funny how it detaches from there and there's no support down here. But we'll worry about those later, because the bottom part of the building is what I'm going to worry about the most. There's these solid wall pieces. And this one has a man door and a large roll-up door for semi-trucks. There's this long wall with 3 rail-served doors. It's pretty thick. It's thicker than Walther's buildings, about the thickness of a DPM building. And here's a solid 3-piece wall. I say 3-piece because it's this, this, and this. And when I start building on this, since I'm going to customize it, these may be cut out in single units. So this piece will be the back wall. What I like to do is I like to see the curvature of the rail, how it's going to be set. We'll move the camera a little bit. Here in the foreground is going to be a road here. So I want to have the building curving along the rail here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to look at it. I'm going to see where it's going to be set up. This is a pretty tight radius. It looks like it's got to at least be an 18-inch radius. It's pretty sharp. But there is room for 2 40-foot boxcars on this little spur. I'm not planning on having a whole lot of 50-footers, but there will be some. This spur itself will serve 40-footers. It'll make it interesting to have this right along the edge of the layout. But of course this building has to curve. I don't want to bend the doors, but I also want it to look good for a view coming in this direction from the edge of the layout over here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take my X-Acto knife, and I am going to slice on the right side of the ribs, which will help hide the gap when you're looking in this direction. If I were to cut on this side, the ribs would be very visible from the people who are looking at the layout from this view. So I want to kind of hide those ribs. I'm going to try something. The first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to score these halfway, and then I'm going to bend the walls to fit this curve. I'm going to see just how deep the cuts go. If they're too deep to put filler putty in there, then I'll slice them off all the way and sand them on an angle and re-glue them. I'll probably end up doing that anyway because it's just better that way. So here we go, I'm going to start doing it. This is very thick plastic. It'll take quite a while to score through there. Even though I'm a strong guy, the plastic is pretty thick. And I push really hard when I do this. I break a lot of blades, but this is a fresh blade, and I should be able to go through there pretty quickly. Once you get the first scribed line on there, you can go a little quicker. I know a lot of you modelers probably already know that. But the first thing that I wanted to do was plan out how the building was going to go. I've got these two extra solid walls here. They're going to go up here. So I'll have to cut each individual little section because the radius is so sharp. I can't go 2 by 2 because it leaves a pretty good sized gap down in there, as you can see. So I'll put some scribes in this and also on this side. I'll go ahead and get it started while I'm still strong. I'm sure I'll be weak by the time this is all been started and halfway done. Because this plastic is so thick, I do have a rail and tie cutter by Atlas. There's not very many things by Atlas that I actually like, and the rail and tie cutter is one of them. It cuts the metal rails without leaving the funky marks that a pair of dikes would use or leave. This is what I mean by dikes. They're just snipper cutter tools. Oops, my glue. I call them dikes because my dad calls them dikes, and we're both mechanics. So we don't call open and adjustable wrenches, that was their technical name. We call them crescent wrenches. But I'm sure it's different for every region you go to, but hence the name dikes. So anyway, I'm going to keep cutting through this, and if it gets too long, too boring, I'll just cut the tape a little bit. And alright, there we go. Okay, that one's cut. Let's start doing this one a little better. We'll get it cut through. Bend it over, see how it looks. If it looks like I don't want to use that amount of putty to fill it in, so there you go. It's like the shape of a set of funky airplane wings. It'll fit the curvature of the rail. Now we'll take a look at the gaps. Oh, those are pretty big gaps. I don't like those. I could use filler putty and fill them up, but it just wouldn't feel right doing that. So I'm going to go ahead and cut them all the way off. The new video camera that I got, I know a lot of you guys are talking about that on the YouTube site that I have. Yeah, it's a good little camera. The camera itself is it's a full 1080p HD camera. But you can also set it for lower settings for longer videos. It's a really lightweight camera. It can fit in your pocket. It has Wi-Fi capabilities to download Wi-Fi. Sand that edge up flat and square. I don't want it to look stupid when I put it back together. And what I'll do is I'll sand it on an angle, like so. I have a sanding block. It's just a piece of wood that I have a piece of sandpaper connected to. The grit is 110 grit, which is a fine grit sandpaper. But I'm using my file now because this is how I do it. Well, this is how I'm going to do it for here because this file takes off a lot more plastic than the sandpaper will. I also have a Dremel table sander with a belt on it. It's a little tiny one. I also have a little tiny Dremel table saw. It's like a miniature saw. Okay, there's the first piece. There you go. And here's the piece, I think. Yes. This is the piece that came off. As you can see, the edge is not straight right now. This edge is not very straight either because I broke it instead of cutting it all the way, but it would have taken all day to cut it. Quick sanding, you'll never know it was a little crappy mess. And we'll get going with how the wall is going to come together. Now what I want to worry about here is after I straighten this piece up by sanding it on here, this is the one I want to go on a sharp angle. Even if it goes up to paper thin on the end, it'll be fine because it'll be hidden behind this square pillar here, so you'll never see it. No matter how thin it gets, I won't have a problem gluing it together because I can take a piece of thick styrene and put it on here and glue it together. It'll stay floppy for a while, it'll move around until we get the roof piece on, which will strengthen the whole thing and it won't move around. So I'm going to go ahead and do that now. First I'm going to square it up, make it flat, and then I'll start sanding it on an angle. And I'll do that off screen with my sanding board. I'm just going to do this one piece because I want you to see how I'm going to put the angled sections together. Now this doesn't have to go for every single building that I'm going to build. There's only a couple of buildings that are going to have curvatures in them. Actually there'll be 3 so far that I've planned out. Alrighty. I got dust everywhere. Okay, as you can see, I've started to get it on an angle. You can see the angle there. It's not 100% straight yet, but I just want to show you how it's going to come together. When it does come together, let's make sure they're both right. When it does come together, look at that. No daylight. a little more sanding, the gap will be completely gone, and I will be able to glue these two into place. Then the next piece will be this one. I'll sand this one on an angle as well. And then, let's see. I think I'll take this wall and cut one off because I want one more wall right here on the outside. One here, then this one, then these two. Then I'll put this other extra wall piece out here on this end. And then I'll make the building come straight back with these two pieces. Like so. Looks like I'll actually have to cut off one wall, or about a quarter of a wall here. So there'll be a quarter of this wall left. And then the other wall will go on a curve following this curvature of the track. So, when I come back, I'll have had these two sections sanded and ready to hook up to this section. And then I'll also have this section cut. I'm going to go ahead and scribe it right now so you can see where I'm going to do it. Since this end piece here has both pillars on either end, then I will be cutting this piece on the left side of the pillar, and I'll be getting rid of the pillar. It'll stay on the plastic for the rest of the wall over here. So I'll go ahead and scribe that real quick, and then we'll cut the video out, and when we come back, these will be sanded and ready to go together. I'll show you the process of how I mock things up and get them ready to go. Alright? Okay,